Hello, I'm Kay from the Spectra team, and in this video, I will give you action points that you should clear before launching your website. So, launching a website without a checklist is like trying to drive a Lamborghini but without a steering wheel, or with the pizza. Yeah. And by the way, if you want to keep this launch checklist as a reference, we've turned it into a convenient file that you can download from the description of this video. So without wasting any time, let's start with our WordPress website launch checklist. First, SSL, which stands for Secure Sockets Layer. And basically, this is the way to tell the browser that your website is secured. For example, here in Chrome, you can see I just click on this icon and it says the connection is secure. And if I click on it, it gives more details and says that the certificate is valid. Now, previously in this course, I showed you how to get a web hosting plan and a domain name configured with SSL. And if you haven't seen that video, you can always go watch it later as a reference. Next, website title and tagline. So in WordPress, you want to go to Settings, General, and here in the first field, you can change your website title, but don't forget just below we have the tagline. By default, it says just another WordPress site, or here in this case, just another Astra Starter template site. So let's replace this with our slogan, a digital agency even your mom loves. Yeah. Now it's important to change this because this could appear in search engines, so you don't want the generic tagline. Now once you're done, scroll to the bottom of the page and click on Save Changes. Next, admin email. So still in Settings General, you can change here the administration email address. And if your email address is different from the one you see here, this is the time to change it because all important communication from your website will be sent to that email address. And as usual, once you're done, click on Save Changes. Next, time zone settings. So we're still in Settings General, and right here we can find the time zone settings. So we can either leave it to UTC+0 or even better, we can change it to the time zone we're in. And that's important because let's say an event happened and you want to find out, oh, at what time did that happen? At least you won't have to calculate at what time it really did happen. So to change the time zone, just click on the drop down, select the appropriate time zone, and as usual, once you've made your changes, just scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on Save Changes. Next, permalinks. So in WordPress, you want to go to Settings, Permalinks, and if you don't know what a permalink is, well, let's say that without permalinks, your website URLs would look something like this. So instead of about or services, you would just see a random number from the database. Now, as you can see here, there are many options, but the one most recommended is post name. So make sure you set to post name, then scroll down and click on Save Changes. Next, make sure your website is visible to search engines. So in WordPress, you want to go to Settings, Reading, and right here you see the search engine visibility option. So make sure this is not selected. Now, usually when we start a project, we select this option so that we can build the website quietly without anyone knowing. So make sure you unselect this option and then click on Save Changes. Because if you don't do this, search engines like Google may not even know that your website exists. Next, make sure maintenance mode is off. So if you're using some kind of maintenance mode that only allows you to see your website while you're building it, this is the time to deactivate it. So for example, with Spectra, you want to go to Spectra, Settings, then click on Site Visibility. And right here you have two options, Enable Coming Soon mode and Enable Maintenance mode. And with maintenance mode turned on, this is what it looks like with a custom page and design created with Spectra. So make sure you turn it off. And now if someone tries to access your website, now they can. Next, making sure your 404 page works. And if you're wondering what a 404 page is, it's basically a page that indicates that the server could not find what was requested. Let me show you. So for example, here I'm on my website and let's say I want to access a page that does not exist. So I'm going to add /blah blah blah. And if I hit enter, as you can see, we get the default 404 page. This page doesn't seem to exist. And then we have a search field. And that should come by default when you install your WordPress theme. And in this case, we're using the Astra theme. And this page is important because a user might land on your website, you might be looking for a page that used to be there, the page is not there anymore, and you don't want them to leave the website. So giving them option like a search field is great to help the website viewers find what they're looking for, or at the very least funnel them to another part of your website. And if you want to take this to the next level, you may want to consider Astra Pro because it now comes with a site builder, so you can create custom 404 pages. So now on this website, I've installed Astra Pro, and with the site builder, I created a custom 404 page. So if I try to access this URL that you see on screen, which does not exist, and type enter, as you can see, I got a fully custom 404 page that's way more stylish and matches my brand. Next, optimization. So let's take a look at Spectra. So in WordPress, you want to go to Spectra, Settings, then click on the Performance tab. And even though Spectra is one of the fastest WordPress visual website builders, here you'll find even more options to optimize your website. Options such as load Google fonts locally, preload local fonts, and cherry on the cake, allow only selected fonts. So all of that is going to make your website even faster. But the idea here is that you may want to do this for each and every plugin on your website, if they have these kind of options, of course. Next, install an anti-spam plugin. Nobody likes spam, and if for some reason you do, please let me know in the comments. But personally, I hate it with a passion. Now luckily, there are easy solutions. So in WordPress, you want to go to Plugins, add new plugin, and then in the search field, type anti-spam B. And there you go. Click on Install Now and activate. And voila, the spam fight is on. Now if you want to go further, click on Settings. Take a look at the self-explanatory options, make your changes, and once you're happy with it, click on Save Changes. Next, remove unneeded plugins. So, talking about plugins, as you may know, having too many plugins can really impact the performance of your website. So in WordPress, you want to go to Install Plugins. And now is the time to delete any plugin that you don't need. It may be plugins you installed during development, or just plugins that came with your install. So hit delete and approve the prompt. And voila, the undesired plugin was successfully deleted. Next, remove unneeded items. So usually when you start creating your website, you're going to create a few pages, posts, you're going to add images that later down the road, you're not going to need anymore. So for example, in WordPress, go to Pages, All Pages, select the pages that you don't need anymore, then click on the drop down. And if you really don't need it anymore, just move it to trash. Otherwise, you can keep it in draft for the time being. But here, let's say I want to get rid of it. Just click on Move to Trash and click on Apply. Next, images. So in WordPress, you want to go to Media, Library. And here you can either open an image and then click on Delete Permanently. Or if you need to select several images, just click on Bulk Select and then select the images you want to delete and hit Delete Permanently. Yes, permanently. They will never, ever, ever be seen again. Next, make sure your logo is set correctly. So for this project, we've been using the Astra theme. So let's go to Astra, Customize. And as mentioned before, on this website, we have two headers, a transparent header. And if we go to the testimonials page, we have a standard header. So we want to check that both logos are correctly set. And if you've just landed on this video and didn't see the rest of the course, make sure you go watch that video right after you're done watching this one. Next, make sure your favicon is set. So to change the site icon in WordPress admin, you want to go to Astra, Customize. Then right here, you will see the style guide icon. So just click on it and you will see the current site icon here, which is the default WordPress logo. So just click on it. And there you go. Click on select site icon and I'm going to pick this one. Then click on select and voila. This is what your users will now see in their browser tab. And as always, don't forget to hit publish. And if you've been following the course, you know that we provided all the course files so you can try with this favicon. But of course, the idea here is that when you create your own website with your own logo, you upload your own favicon. Next, image optimization. Images can really impact the performance of your website. So in a previous video, I've shown you how to optimize this image that weighs 12 megabytes or 12,000 kilobytes as you prefer. And then we optimize it to this image. And tell me if you can see a difference. Image 1, image 2, image 1, image 2. So as I said, the image 1 is 12,000 kilobytes and image 2 is 73 kilobytes. So make sure you optimize all images on your website, and if you don't know how to do it, just go watch that video once you're done watching this one. Next, make sure your website is responsive. So the time of building websites for just one type of device, like a laptop for example, and just one resolution, well, that time is gone, because today we have huge screens, small screens, tablets, smartphones, and the traffic on smartphones is huge. So just make sure the desktop, tablet, and mobile versions look good. So you're gonna have to go through each and every page on your website. I know it takes time, but hey, if you want results, you need to work for it. And once you've done it, then you're pretty much set. Now, of course, if you didn't follow the course, you may not know how to do this. Well, guess what? There is a video for that in the course, and it's completely free, and it's here on YouTube. Next, make sure your content is SEO ready. Now, in case you don't know, SEO is the process of making a website more visible in search results in order to increase the quantity and quality of organic or free website traffic. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. Now, the topic of SEO is so vast and is completely beyond the scope of this video. But if you need help, I will point you to a blog post on our website with a complete guide for SEO. But in a nutshell, SEO starts with how you create your content, whether it's the text, the tags like the H1 tags, and you will learn about all that in the guide, whether it's the images with the importance of adding alt text, like for example here on this image, is described as digital strategist using a digital tablet, or whether it's the rest of the text on your website with the keywords density and strategies to capture your audience. But once again, you will find all information in this ultimate guide on our website. Next, add a SEO plugin. To make your life easier when it comes to SEO, as you may imagine, there are a few plugins out there. For example, Rank Math SEO or SEO Press, just to name a few. And these plugins will really help you to tackle all aspects of SEO, from SEO grades, keyword density, and even how to deal with images. So if you want to rank organically in Google and want to make your life easier, make sure you add a SEO plugin. Next, add a social share image. Now, as we just saw, SEO plugins can take care of many things. And one of these things is social share images. So basically, when you want to share the URL of your website, an image is going to be displayed on social media. And you want to make sure you can control which image is shared. Otherwise, it's very frustrating because it's going to pick one image and you will never know why this image is shared when you post on social media. So if you install the SEO plugin, that should be easy to do. But I really want to stress this out because there are so many options in these plugins that it's easy to skip this option. Next, create an XML sitemap. But first, what is an XML sitemap? Well, sitemaps is a protocol in XML format meant for a webmaster? Haven't heard that term in a long time. To inform search engines about URLs on a website that are available for web crawling. So basically, it's a way to tell the search engines, hey, this is the site map. The map of the website. Yeah. And once again, if you have a SEO plugin, you should have that option, but don't skip it because we will need this later. Next, check that your links are working. Now, links are what make websites and the internet go around, so you want to make sure your links are not broken. And guess what? If you install a SEO plugin, you should have that option also, like for example in Rank Math or in SEO Press. So make sure all your links are working, internal links, external links, and also check your social media links. Next, make sure you have a privacy policy page. So it depends where you live, but in this day and age, in most places, you must have a privacy policy page when you have a website. So for that, you want to go to Pages, All Pages. Now, by default, WordPress comes with a privacy policy page that is in draft mode, but the idea here is that you're going to replace the content by your own content and then publish the page. Now, on a side note, if you want to be on the safe side, ask a lawyer what your text should be. And if you can't find this page, or maybe you deleted it, you can always go to Settings, Privacy, and here you can decide to create a new page, or you can go in the drop down and say, hey, my privacy policy page is actually my homepage. Next, GDPR. The General Data Protection Regulation is a European Union regulation on information privacy in the European Union and the European Economic Area. Now, the truth is, even if you're not in that region, but if you do business with people in that region, you may be subject to comply with GDPR. Now, GDPR is a vast topic and it's beyond the scope of this video. But the first step is to try to use GDPR compliant tools as much as possible. And even though WordPress comes with some native GDPR options, the next step will be to get a dedicated plugin. Like for example, WordPress GDPR and CCPA. Now we're talking about GDPR, but of course, this also applies to all different regulations in the world. So depending on where you're based, you may be subject to a different regulation. So the rule of thumb is look if there is a plugin for it, something that really helps to comply with the law, and just implement to the best of your ability. And with the right tool, it's not as complicated as it seems. Next, add Google Analytics. So, as you may know, Google Analytics is a free tool that helps you understand your customers across devices and platforms. Basically, it's statistics. The tool is free, so if you don't already have an account, click on Get Started today to create an account, and then you will need to add your website. So you will receive a key, and you will need to add this key to your website. And for that, you can either use a dedicated plugin, or once again, if you added an SEO plugin, you should find an option to add that code. Next, check your grammar and spelling. There's nothing worse than having a beautiful and modern website crippled with spelling and grammatical errors. So make sure your website is free of those errors. And in this day and age, especially with AI, that should be pretty easy to do. Next, proofread your content on all pages. So we've just talked about spelling and grammar, but what about meaning? Reread the sentences and make sure that it actually makes sense to what you're trying to convey. You may be surprised about what you find. Next, remove WordPress revisions. Every time you make a change in WordPress and hit publish or save, WordPress is going to create what is called a revision. And basically it's a snapshot of the changes you made. And the reason is that with this, you can go back in time and just roll back to a previous version. Now that's great, but the issue is after a while, especially if you work on a bigger website or on a bigger project, your database might get bloated and that's going to impact the performance of your website. So to solve that, you can add a plugin. So if you go to plugins, add new plugin and type revisions, you'll find a few of these plugins. But if you're using WP Rocket, which is a caching plugin, that will speed up your website dramatically. You can just go to database and then you can optimize the database. Here in just one click, I can select the revisions and then just save changes and optimize, and it's going to delete all revisions. Now, I advise you to do this once the project is completely finished, completely done. You know, you're just about to launch, then it's fine. But while you're still building it, you may want to keep the revisions for the time being. But like I said, once you're ready, just delete those revisions. Next, check all web forms on your website. Having a contact form on your website is a must-have nowadays, but you want to make sure that it actually works. So try sending a message through the contact form and make sure you receive the email. And if you don't, you're going to need to debug it. And in the previous video in this course, I've shown you how to set up your forms with the default Spectra form block. But whatever plugin or solution you're using, the rule is the same. Just test it and make sure that it works. And if you want to take it even further, you may want to take a look at an awesome plugin called SureForms. Next, check the performance of your website. Basically, you can use free tools like Pingdom Tools or PageSpeed Insights to double check the performance of your website. And if your website is not performing the way it should, for example, you get a very bad score on these tools and you see some big red flags, then it may be time to go back to the drawing board and optimize your website. For example, by optimizing your images, as we've previously talked about in this video. Next, media and licensing. Great images can have a significant impact on your credibility. But please don't be that person that just goes to Google and steals images, especially in this day and age where you can get free images with AI or with free websites like Pexels or Pixabay, just to name a few. But as usual, always read the terms and conditions, and when in doubt, just contact the copyright owner. Next, add a security plugin. Taking time to build a beautiful and modern website only to find out it was hacked just days after it was launched makes no sense. So in WordPress, go to Plugins, add new plugin, and then look for plugins like Malcare, PatchStack, Security, or Solid Security, which used to be called iTheme Security. Now, all of these plugins are different, but they do the same thing. They're going to protect your website against external attacks. They come with a free version, and they usually come with a ton of tutorial for you to set them up. So do yourself a favor and protect your website. Next, add a caching plugin. In case you don't know, caching is storing copies of files in a cache so that cached content can be accessed quickly. In other words, it's going to make your website way faster. And if you're looking for free options, all you need to do is go to plugins, add new plugin, and just type caching in the search field. Now, if you're looking for a next level caching solution and you don't mind paying for a premium, then we recommend WP Rocket. And on a side note, you may want to try a plugin like Perf Matters, which work alongside with your caching plugin and makes your website even more performant. Next, add a CDN. Now, on top of your caching plugin, the ultimate speed boost for your website is a CDN. And basically, a CDN is fast content delivery to your users anywhere in the world. So basically, when one of your users is trying to view your website from the end of the planet and your website hosting is on the other end of the planet, it might not be as fast as you want. So basically, what a CDN does, and CDN stands for Content Delivery Network, the CDN is going to duplicate your website and store cached copies in many places in the globe. And that means that your website viewers are always going to get served the closest copy of your website, thus making the experience way faster. Next, cross-browser testing. You might be surprised how your website looks on different browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and so on. So the best thing you can do is try it for yourself, try it in private or incognito mode, and possibly try it on some other device. It's not the device you are developing the website on. Now, if instead you prefer using a tool, hop on Google and just type cross-browser website testing and you will see a ton of options. And at this stage, if you find any errors from one browser to the other, it's time to debug. Now, the good news is that Internet Explorer is a thing of the past, so you're lucky you won't have to deal with that. But if you found a bug, it may be time to go back and make some changes. Next, cross-devices testing. So just like the testing for the browsers, you also want to test for various devices. You want to test for a desktop, but desktop is very wide. You want to test on a big screen, on a smaller screen, like a tiny laptop, for example. You want to try on a tablet, you want to test on a smartphone, you name it. Now, of course, unless you have all these devices, it might be a bit difficult. So the first thing you can do is just test it in your browser. And if you have an external screen, just see how it looks if you have a bigger screen. But then what you can do also is go on a page here, for example, in Google Chrome, right click, then click on Inspect. And make sure you have this icon selected. So by default, this is what you will see, and click on that icon, which is a responsive icon. Next, here in the dropdown, you can change the device. So let's say I want to try iPhone 12 Pro. Well, this is how it looks like. So as you can see, I have many different devices and brands, and I can even click edit and add new ones. Now, this is not perfect. The best thing to do is to try on a real device, but if you can't, at least you can try this solution. And as usual, if you prefer using a dedicated tool, just go to Google and type cross-devices website testing. Next, cross-OS testing. So you thought we were done with testing, but nope, because ideally you would test your website on the macOS operating system and on the Windows operating system. And if you're really hardcore, you can test your website on Linux. I'm just kidding. But the rule of thumb is, and that's valid for all tests, whether it's the browser, the type of devices, or the operating system, you want to optimize for where your audience is going to be. So if most of your audience will be on a Mac, it makes sense to optimize first for the macOS operating system, and vice versa. If they're on Windows, optimize for Windows. Same thing for the browsers and same thing for devices. If you know that 90% of the people are going to view your website on a smartphone, then you should spend more time optimizing on the smartphone. Now, if you don't have both a Mac and a Windows machine, there are free solutions, and I'm going to talk about it in a moment. And that moment is right now, because next you're going to ask friends and colleagues to scan your website. Not only is it free, unless of course your friends ask you for money, but then are they really friends? And next, chances are some will be on Windows, some will be on the Mac, and then when it comes to the smartphone, some will be on iOS and some will be on Android. So you get it testing cross devices, cross browser for free. But that means you need to have friends, of course. But if you don't, just ask your colleagues. Yeah. Next, add your website to the Search Console. So if you want to add your website to Google, it's free. Just type Search Console and click on the first link. Next, click on Start Now. Now, if you're not logged in, you will be prompted to log in. If you don't have a Google account, just create it. It's free. And then all you need to do is add your domain, click on Continue, and follow the instructions on screen. You will be asked to provide the XML sitemap that we talked about earlier on in this video and that you can get from your SEO plugin. And then sit back, relax, and after a few days, your website will be added in the Google search engine. Next, back up your website. At this stage, backing up your website is essential. I remember once I delivered a website to a client and he was so happy, but then a few months later, his web hosting bill arrived and he didn't see the email for months, so he didn't renew. And then he called me panicking, he said, "Hey, I lost the website." So just imagine if I did not have a backup. Everything would be lost. He would have to pay again for the website, or in case he had built the website himself, he would have to start from scratch again. And that can be really depressing, especially when you've put a lot of time into building your website. Now, luckily for him, I had a backup. Whew. So I strongly encourage you to do the same. And if you're looking for a good tool for the job, just go to Plugins, add new plugin, and then in the search field, type WP Vivid without any space, and here it is. Click on Install, then Activate, and follow the instructions on screen. Next, and that may be the simplest one on this list, just launch. And that may mean sending a message to your friends and colleagues, or even, why not, throwing a party. And if a party is too much, how about a meetup? The thing is, you want to remember that day so that in the future you can look back and say, hey, this is the day we launched the website. Next, tell the world. So we've already launched the website, so you may think, what do you mean by tell the world? So when you launch, it might be better to just do a soft launch first, so just friends and family, for example. But now you want to tell the whole world. So for that, you're going to use your social media. So if you have a big following, that's going to help. But if you have no following, still share it on your social media. And you may want to use ads. You may want to boost your posts. And it's a bit different depending on which platform you are. But most of these platforms have ads. So you're going to have to put a little bit of budget. But that's really going to help to let the world know, hey, there's a new website and this is what we do. And ideally, you would direct them to a landing page. But that's a debate for another video. And if you do have a newsletter, now is the time to spread the good news and hit send. Now, some other things you may want to do is a game where people are actually going to win something. Of course, they'll be more interested in the prize, but what you want is to let people know that you're launching the website. So you want to have a lot of eyes seeing your brand and the message that a new website is out. And cherry on the cake, the game could be about finding some info that is hidden somewhere on the website. Just a little tip. Next, and that's probably my favorite one, pat yourself on the back. And by that I mean celebrate. It could be having your best beer, or eating your favorite junk food, or healthy food. It could be playing your favorite video game, or going on a weekend trip with your significant other to celebrate. Now I know it may sound like a lot and you may say, hey, it's just launching a website. But even if it's just buying a chocolate bar, give yourself a reward. Because my friend, you deserved it. And if you followed the whole course, you deserve it even more. 2 chocolate bars for you. Now, if you want to keep this launch checklist as a reference, we've turned it into a convenient file that you can download from the description of this video. So, congratulations! Your website should now be fully ready. And we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. So now the question is, when do you plan to launch your website and what is your website about? Please let us know in the comments below. Whew, it's done. I can't believe it. How many days, weeks? The course is finally done. Let me pat myself on the back. And here's my treat. So good. I've been dreaming about you for weeks.